Go ahead, Rafael.
Hello, this is Rafael Nodal from Tabacalera, USA. And thank you for joining us. Another cigar break over here in the Cigar Life. And we are extremely pleased today to have our good friend Will Coop from the Cigar Coop joining us. Will, hello, how are you?
Hi, Rafael. How's it going? Thanks for having the opportunity to be a part of this today. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for joining us. And tell me a little bit, where are you located now?
I am actually, I guess, at my compound, aka my house, which is just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Excellent, excellent. How, first of all, before we continue, we start with the questions and learning a little bit about what Cigar Coop is and everything you have done for a long time. Tell me, how's your family? How's everybody close to you doing?
The virus has actually hit my family on a couple of fronts right now. Up in New York, because my immediate family all here in Charlotte's fine, my kids and my wife, but my mom and sister have contracted the virus separately. The good news is my mom is doing very well. I'd say she's almost in recovery right now, and my sister hasn't had bad effects, but both have contracted the virus. So, obviously I'm very concerned about them right now. New York's not in good shape right now, is what I'll tell people.
No, it's not. That's for sure. And we did one of the last events that I did was in March. I believe it was March 10. I did one there, and I was obviously very scary situation. It was a difficult thing. Will, I hopefully your mom continue to be well, continue the family continue to be well, and in this difficult time, that's why we wanted to bring this break
Sure.
to people and talk a little bit about cigars. And if you're like me, it's hard to watch news these days, right? I
Oh
don't
yeah.
watch TV anymore because it's all very difficult. So these moments is to take a little bit of respite to our viewers, and so thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it. What are you smoking there, first of all?
Well, I'm smoking the H. Upman Grupo de Maestro. I like smoking Connecticut's on Sundays.
Huh?
Uh, yeah, I typically don't do reviews like on Sundays. It's a day I can enjoy my cigars. And Connecticut, I just find Connecticut on even a Sunday morning and a Sunday afternoon is a great thing to do. This is a cigar I really am impressed how it's aging. Actually, this one I probably have in my humidor for about a year, or maybe a little over a year, and it's really a very nice cigar
Well,
that
I'm
was
glad
done.
you say that because not you're right. Not all cigars age well, right?
Right,
Not like old people age well.
right,
Uh,
right.
and the thing is, depends a lot in the type of tobaccos, and that cigar has an amazing collection of tobaccos inside on the blend, and for sure it can only get better as time progresses. So I'm glad. I'm smoking a new blend that is going to be released soon. So I'm smoking the actual different production dates right now. So this weekend has been. I was showing you before. This is my bag of different blends, dates, and things like that. So this
Right.
has been this weekend, yesterday and today, actually has been a lot of work because taking notes and making comments and things like that. So this has been a fantastic so far, doing great. So Will, we start with we're going to start first with our last meeting, and then we're going to go back to our first meeting, first time I met you, and then everything in between.
Right.
So we met last time in Vegas, TPE. We had dinner together, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. At Bazaar Meats, that was an experience.
And that was only how many weeks ago? I'm losing track of
About
them.
8 or 9 weeks ago. It was a couple months, a little over a couple of months
A
ago.
little
So it's,
couple of months,
yeah,
right? And that was a great time. We had a fantastic dinner. That was a great show, the TPE in Vegas. We had a chance to meet a lot of new retailers, and that was a fantastic dinner. Good jamon, good ham, Spanish ham, and then some fantastic steak. Good wine as well. I think something happened to your shirt as well. I remember the blue shirt that you had.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I was trying, of course, I tried not to damage the shirt, and once I got to the last course, the piece of steak went right on the shirt. But it was worth the price. Lucky they have a good dry cleaning service at that hotel.
Oh, you
They were
got it.
able to get it done. Yeah, I thought it was probably going to be ruined.
Well, let me tell you, normally it's me, the person that comes out with that. And that's why I wear all these ties and I normally turn the tie when I
Yeah.
eat and things like that. So that was the last time we actually got together personally. And after that, I've seen you obviously in all these shows and things that you have been doing. But then we met a long, long time before. If I remember correctly, one of the events at one of the retail store that is no longer in business many years ago. Do you remember how long ago was that?
I'm going to tell you, I remember it was 2009, and
Wow.
I believe it was around Valentine's Day.
Oh my God.
And you, at the time, that was King Habano. That was the
Right.
King Habano brand. And it was an event around the King Habano, the old Oliveros King Habano brand.
Right. And then that you had tried all, you knew everything about the Oliveros Excel and all the previous blend. And so at that time, you were a consumer. You had not started doing this yet. That's correct?
Right. I was a consumer. I had only moved to Charlotte a year earlier. So and I had been smoking cigars for about 3 years by that point. But when I moved to Charlotte, it's really when I started getting into this seriously. I had met Scott Weeks,
Right. Our
right,
rep.
from Recluse. So I
Right.
know you were working with Scott Weeks along with at the time Manuel Quesada and Don Pepin Garcia.
Right.
So I got really exposure and visibility to people that I had never gotten exposure and visibility to before. So I was in this very heavy learning mode by the time you and I had met at that event.
Yeah, so that was wow, 2009. I didn't
Yeah,
remember exactly the time. So
yeah.
how do you start then? You probably were getting exposed, like you said, to all these things. So when the cigar coop idea come in, and how was that?
Well, that same retailer, the following year in 2010, and he unfortunately he's no longer in business. Tom Cacadelis, but I always give him credit because he was looking obviously to grow his business, and he had asked me to come to the trade show with him, kind of in a consultative type of mode. Because by then I was really getting into this. So in 2010, I went to the trade show with him. There was not a media hat on me at that point,
Right.
and it was work. I mean, I had to work, but you can't help but when you walk into that trade show, it's like, how can I put it? It was like Cigar Disneyland. It's no other way to describe it. And I see it when I go with other people for the first time, their first reaction at. I was blown away, right? I was so blown away that I said, I had taken pictures or whatever. I said, I got to document this experience. Um, and I was trying to figure out those stories I had of the whole week. So I basically, for lack of a better term, I started the Cigar Coop blog, and it was intended to be a very short kind of thing where I was going to talk about the 20 to 25 booths I went to, um, and then just it would be done. Um, so I went and did that. What I discovered is people are actually reading it. Like, even though the writing was pretty bad at the time, the photography wasn't good. But I was surprised that people were reading it, and I was getting feedback from. I remember I got feedback from Michael Giannini, was one of the people who gave me feedback. Matt Booth was another one. I mean, I had known you. Then the next thing happened is I got people asking me to review cigars. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll start doing cigar reviews, right? I really didn't know what I was doing with the cigar reviews. And at that point, it was a learning process for me as much as a publication process. And that's really where Cigar Coop started at that point, where um, at that point I say, all right, this is something I can probably grow and sustain for the time being and see where it takes me.
Right. And so it started as a blog, first of all, for that
Yeah.
particular IPCPR, and then you went to these reviews. Um, were you ever before interested in journalism in any of these type of things? Because you have basically become one of the best known brands on the internet of cigar media, and that in 10 years, I guess now, is remarkable. Did you had any basic training? Were you interested in this type of journalism type before?
Yeah, totally. So really, and my wife actually was in the journalism business for a little while, but there was no money in it, right?
Right.
So, I ended up doing something else with my career. But I did do journalism when I was younger, high school, a little bit in college. I I was really like I was really into talk radio, and that's we could talk about that a little more. So I was very much a talk radio person. I had a lot of interest in the media realm.
Right.
What this kind of afforded me an opportunity is to get into a small pond, so to speak, which is the cigar industry, and kind of do something with it, which I never thought that would happen. I didn't know the cigar industry was going to be that kind of gateway into it, because you try to do that with sports or other things, it's much more difficult. But at the time, there was an opportunity to do that in the cigar industry, and I said, well, this is something I was interested in years ago. Let me see where this takes me. So I always tell people, if you're going to do what we do, you can't just be interested in cigars. You got to be interested in the passion of media, and you got to have your media game. And if you don't like doing the media game, you're not going to last in cigar media.
Right, right, and the same thing I found, right? The same thing I found because it's definitely an easy industry to have accessibility at the beginning. Whether you start making cigars, whether you have a retail store, or you have that, in your case, the media. But then at the end, right? So then later on becomes the real business aspect of it, and then the work. And tell me a lot about the work, because it had changed dramatically from when you started with the review. You're doing all these live shows, bring news to some other pieces. What other type of program besides this you're doing? Because you're definitely doing a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the next thing that happened is I expanded into the news piece. I saw an opportunity there. Really, what happened was I remember when I remember like about late 2010, there were all these cigars coming out for New York, because New York had just put these taxes in place. And I remember Alec Bradley came out with this cigar called the Alec Bradley New York. And I was talking to someone in a cigar lounge one day about this, and he gave me the idea. He says, "Why don't you put that on your blog?" And I'm like, I didn't even think of that.
Right.
So that's kind of how the news piece started. And then what I discovered is there was a lot of work to do with the news piece, because there was so much. And I heard this with Charlie, and I can totally relate to it, because we were coming up around the same times. There was a lot of misinformation out there, and there was an opportunity to get information correctly, and put some journalistic practices in place.
Yeah.
So that's really how the news piece became, I'd say, the next phase of that, along with improving the quality of the writing and the photography along the way.
Absolutely. But I think you're doing an amazing job, or you have always done an amazing job of bringing the news and the information to the consumer, right? I can tell you, for us here in Tabacalera USA, Altais USA, with our brands, Monte Cristo, Romeo and Juliet, A. Shorman, now Aging Room, my own brand that is distributed by them, and iconic brands, Trinidad. And by the way, that one that you have in your you having a T-shirt. Well, the Shortman Grupo Maestro, but also the T-shirt, the Vega Fina.
Oh, that's one of my that's a brand near and dear to my heart. I love that brand.
That's a brand that have actually made it some a few times, I believe, or at least more than one, the top 20, the top
Yeah.
cigars of the years in your list, right?
Yeah, the Añejo made it a few years ago. And I know we just recently reviewed Year to Rat, which was a fantastic blend that's in Europe right now. And I think I've mentioned I've gone to Europe a couple of times, and I've found some really good Vega Fina gems in the European market. But there's been some great ones here too as well. I mean, Vega Fina Nicaragua, the Añejo is another one. So yeah, I've always enjoyed the Vega Finas.
So in our brands, whenever we're doing the information, one of the toughest things, right, is taking information of the brands to the consumer. And I think that particular aspect, you have done an amazing job, as well as some other media, in order to take information. Do you think people are hungry for information all the way? They want to hear beyond the brand and the commercial. They want to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately they are hungry and they want to learn. I see it at events. Um, as well. But that was a lot why I got into the podcast piece as well, because there you can put it into words, into like a technical review or a news story. But sometimes when you're just talking about the cigar, and I think a lot of people are seeing that now, with the virtual things going on today, like what we're doing today, that this type of forum, like back in 2013 when I started getting into the podcast piece, there was a way you can connect with consumers. There's nothing, if people are tuning into you and they trust you and they see you smoking a cigar, it's a great way to connect with people. That we were seeing this back in 2013 when we were doing the first podcast with Stogie Geeks.
Yes, and another things that you have done amazingly well is working with many other people in the media together and to bring these broadcasts or live videos and events with some other people. Tell me some of the ones that you work with and how does that idea started.
Um, so really, when I for a while I had partnered with another brand, Stogie Geeks, up in Rhode Island. And it was kind of at the time the best of both worlds. They had a brand, I had a brand, we were growing, and rather than duplicate efforts, we kind of joined forces with those guys. Eventually, we split. There were just different directions we were going in. And when I kind of was building a team, because I decided I was going to do my own podcast with kind of my own vision at the time, um, I really wanted to get the best talent out there, right? It wasn't just so much that I didn't want to pop someone in and be a podcast host. I wanted to work with really good people. So one of the first guys I brought in was Aaron Loomis from Developing Palettes, who I had known Aaron for a while. And I kind of presented the vision for the primetime show that we were doing. And Aaron was, like I said, I had worked with Aaron on some stuff on his websites too. He was doing blind reviews at the time for Blind Man's Puff. So Aaron and I already had we were already collaborating where we were kind of helping each other out. And he was gracious to be part of the team. The same with Bear Duplessis, a guy out of Texas who at the time he was doing a lot of retail type of he was doing media through his retail or doing videos and stuff like that. And I saw this is a guy I want to work with as well. So those, like I said, these are people I kind of got to know and trust right away. And I felt that, hey, we could offer each other things in return. Like, so there's things I could do to help out their brand as well, and it's just kind of a collaborative effort. Yes, we have our own brands, but we come together under this common platform, which is a great thing to do.
Yeah, no, I think it's an amazing thing. And by the way, I just put both screen on the both of us on the screen.
Yeah, there we go.
This is new for me, so thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. By the way, I would like to say thank you to Greg. He's been helping all this in once and from JR. He's doing a fantastic job. But I also want to say thank you and for people that are joining us. We have with us Larry Palombo has joined us. Larry is one of the guys that knows most about tobacco. I worked with Altadi for a long, long period of time in the tobaccos and really educational as well. And he helped us before I got here, helping us get in the tobacco. And some of the people, Pete, Greg Garcia, Tommy, just a lot of people that are team, some great friends, even from Spain, our friend Torres. Miguel Torres is joining us. So thank you very much, people from California. I appreciate it. Taking time from Saturday. You're like me, or you already had lunch, then you're ready for a siesta, right? So I'm running late on the siesta. Normally on Sunday, this is the time. That's why I'm having my little cafecito and Cuban coffee doing this. But I also, I want to go by the numbers because I'm always interested in the numbers and how we do it. So I have prepared some questions that I want to ask you
Okay.
because I think it's interesting. So total amount of years right now, how many you've been then right now total since you started?
August 15th will be the 10-year anniversary.
Right. So you have mentioned
Yep.
2010.
Yep.
You write a lot of articles. You do it in a different format, in the agile one, in the longer version, in the long things. How many articles have you published up to date,
So,
approximately?
so I actually have the number in front of me here, so it's kind of interesting. I can pull that up. The number of if you were to count everything on Cigar Coop, it's 8,861.
8,861.
Yeah.
That's a lot because it's not only, I mean, just the time to take to write, but to think about it and edit it and make changes. That's an amazing thing. So
Yeah.
July 3, 2012, since that day, 8,861 articles. Now, you also do a lot of reviews. That means smoking a lot of cigars. By the way, if our life insurance company are watching this, may or may not be true, the numbers that we give it of the cigars that he's reviewing and smoking. So how many reviews do you think approximately you have done up to now?
So I'll say this: I checked the box on my insurance policy that I'm a smoker, so hopefully I'm off the hook. But actually, I could pull that number up as well. That's 2023. Over 10
2023.
years. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And how many live shows? And there are different format of the live show that you do, right? How many would you say that you have done until now?
Again, I'll pull that one up. We've done since the podcast started in like the three podcasts, we have 213.
What are the three different ones?
So the first one is the primetime show, and that's our weekly show. I know you've been a part of that. Where that's kind of more of that's an industry focused show where we bring on people from the industry. We talk about their brand. We get into lifestyle with them in terms of things they may like to do outside the cigar industry. And we get into what we call deliberations, which are industry type of debate topics with them. So
Wow.
we've done 134 of those.
So total then live shows 200
Yeah.
and
And
13 you mentioned?
yeah, it's that primetime show. That's the one that Aaron and I host on Thursdays, and that's 134.
Wow. So
Then Bear and I do a show twice a month. We call it Primetime Special Edition. We've done 72 of those, and those are more. It's meant to be more of a news magazine type of show, a little more of a. It's very deep. So I look at maybe the Thursday show as afternoon drive time radio. It's kind of modeled after. I like to say the Tuesday show is modeled after like 20 or 60 minutes type of things, where we get more in depth with those types of things.
right. So
Yep.
a lot of time. So that brings me to the other questions. How long does it take you? How much time do you average you will think that weekly you dedicate to this?
Actually, I would say it's somewhere between 35 and 45 on top of like my day job.
That's
And that's not including when PCA comes, which is probably 60 to 70.
wow.
Yeah. But
Wow.
yeah.
That's a lot of time. And by the way, yeah, so for as you mentioned, you have your day job that
Yeah.
you share in some of your publications from time to time, day job. So day job plus this, that shows the tremendous love for the industry and for what you're doing. By the way, thank you for that. So you
No,
mentioned
thank you.
since the IPCPRs are now called the PCA, that it takes you a lot more time. How many shows have you done then?
I've done 10 in a row. So I've done every one since 2010 through last year.
Since that time that you went with our friend Tom, then you done every single one.
Yeah, every single one. I'll count that first one, even though I wasn't there as media. I
Right.
wrote about it. So
Right.
yeah, I think Charlie and I are the only two to go to the last 10 in a row.
Wow.
I don't
That's
think anyone else has done. I know Charlie's been to all the same ones I've been to.
right. My first cigar show was in Tampa. I believe it must have been around 2001, maybe 2000, 2001. That was, and you're right. I felt like a kid in a chocolate factory, right? So that was for me. That was for me amazing. By the way, what are you drinking? What are you pairing this cigar with?
Florida Canya.
Oh, that is, and
Which
what?
people know I'm not a drinker, so this bottle's probably been open for a while, is what I'll
But I'm
say,
not
people.
familiar with that label. Which, how many years is that?
That's the Centennial Gold 18 year.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. That's an oldie.
Yeah, like I said, I've had this a while,
That's
so I'm not a big drinker, but I knew that I had to have rum since you and I were talking today.
well, it's funny because since I know you're not a big drinker, I got coffee. You
Well,
know,
coffee, I
I
drink a
will.
lot of coffee, so that's
You,
good.
you know that I will normally be drinking rum. Although I must say, lately I've been doing some of the pairings, some of the Monte Cristo, Romeo and Juliet. I've been doing the pairing with tequila, and I must say that I am very impressed about the tequila. I also picked up recently, thanks to my friend Tim person, a lot of whiskeys and bourbon that I'm getting more and more into. So how many? So you every year you do this top cigar list, right? So it's become very popular, the top cigars and things like that. I have been in couple and few, and some of our cigars included Vega Fina has been in some of them. I believe our Cuatro Nicaragua this year
Yep.
was one of your as well.
Yep.
How many of these top cigar lists have you done?
Also 10. So every year since 2010, it's been published.
Tell me a
Um,
little bit about that. It's complicated, right? To be able, how do you manage to put all this in a list? How do you manage that?
it's actually it's actually a very serious process, and I've had to change it a lot over the years. But literally, when the year's over, I start to tabulate the data right away. I start to put some cigars. Like if there's a cigar that scores now really 91 it's kind of like the aficionado model. we look at 91 as a threshold. If there's cigars that are scoring 91, I start to put some of them aside for potentially actually for a resmoke that happens later in the year to make sure I resmoke each of those others. So what I do actually with that is before I resmoke them, I rank the list, and then there's a resmoke, and cigars move up and down. Some move off the list on that. So it's actually a pretty involved process that's done. And it probably upsets people more than makes people happy because more people don't make the list, unfortunately.
It's let me tell you, as a manufacturer, as a people that create blends that work not only with my brand but also all our brands, all my brands from the Monte Cristo to the Trinidad, things like that. You do look forward to those type of things, and our hearts break a little bit when we're not at, or we have a number that perhaps, because let's face it, all of us work extremely hard. We all believe, right?
Yeah.
So this is a belief. We all believe it's the first one, right? It's
Yeah.
the best one, and so it's definitely something that it is difficult. But in my case, what I do is I try to work harder and harder to earn it, right? So like I just want to point out, look, this is a project that is coming out soon, and look at this cigar. We are extremely happy. This is another collaboration that we are doing with my good friend and collaborator AJ Fernandez, and that is coming in one of our fantastic brands that later on we'll be announcing. So we all work hard. We believe we want to be, but it's definitely hard. So have you noticed when people don't? How's the reaction sometimes? That have you ever felt physically worried that something may happen to you in one of the shows when you go and visit if the numbers have not been good? Because you are very straightforward. You do say a lot. I mean, I watched one review the other day, and I think you're very straightforward. You mentioned some things. How do people take it? How do other manufacturers, other people in the industry take it?
I think for the most part they've taken it pretty well. Um, what I tend to get the phone calls on is from some of the smaller and the newer manufacturers. Um, and in particular, a lot of I'll say it's delicate. A lot of online media, small brands are really important to online media for us, right? And they're just as important as the big brands, right? But I think what's happened over the years is that online media, I think scoring has gotten very high.
Right.
And we've tried not. We were in that boat at one point, and there were some adjustments that have been made. So if a cigar's coming under a 90 right now with the smaller guys, they tend to see they maybe they're getting equivalent scores of 94 and 95, and they don't understand it. Um, at the same point, like I like to say, every cigar can't be number one. So something has to fall down, is what I'm
Right.
saying.
Right.
But at the same time, we've tried to say, 88 and 89 is not a bad score. So a lot of that mindset, but so I've tended to get those calls. I haven't gotten, no one, I don't think we've ever been unfair, or I've ever been unfair. I've never tried to take a cheap shot with that, right? Um, Sometimes I'll make a few comments on certain things, right? But in general, we don't try to make it a personal thing. It gets harder too when you know certain people
Right.
and you give them an 87, 88, and you have to do that. If you feel that's what the cigar is, you can't you can't give them a good score because you like them or they're a nice guy. Unfortunately, otherwise I wouldn't be doing my job.
Right.
So but that's part of the territory. If you're not going to be able to take the criticism back, then you probably shouldn't be in this.
It is part of the territory, and it's
Yeah.
very difficult. I remember the first time that I got a review or in the, I don't remember which publication, but I think it was a 77, and then by the time I got an 85, 89, it was like, oh, amazing. And now, obviously, we are at a different level. We work extremely hard. We have partnered with amazing people here in Tabacalera. We have amazing brand, but also amazing inventory of product of tobacco and things like that. So when we get something low, it's worrisome, and but we take it as a challenge to work harder and to always try harder. So we do a lot of testing, a lot of internal testing. A lot of our people in the grupo de maestros and things like the one you smoking,
Yep.
to make sure that when it gets to the consumer, it's something that we are all extremely proud. But at the end of the day, it's a handmade product. It's objective in the way we are looking for different brands and different things. Alan Rubin just point here that he's having the Trinidad Espíritu Fundador and some Havana Club. By the way, this is a guy that watches a lot of your programs. I've
He's
seen every single one of it.
he's a great guy. I mean, honestly, he's a friend. He's a friend, and I always appreciate him tuning in. And you know, believe me, he's also a guy who gives me a lot of good feedback. So I always appreciate that.
Right, and also hello to Anton, Raymond that just is joining us from Nicaragua. Raymond Pajes, Rafael from the AJ Fernandez family that is watching us also. But listen, we are about to
Rafael, can I make one more point before just to close
absolutely
up that point? I apologize. So one thing that I think we're a little different on Cigar Coop compared to other sites is the philosophy that is on Coop is just because you smoke a blend in one size does not mean we have said the brand the line is good or bad.
right,
So we go back and we smoke other sizes of it, and we've had some sizes do much better than others. And I think that's really important when you do a review. And I think a lot of reviews just they focus on one size and then that's it. But we do try to go through several sizes of it. And there's been cigars that have not done well the first time, and they've ended up with another size on the top 25.
right. No, no, I know, because I follow these things very closely. I
Yeah.
was watching you when every year when Cigar Aficionado is about to publish their number one, you do this pre-show and analysis of stuff
And
like
I
that.
wrote you off this year.
And you brought me off because
I didn't think you were going to get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And I remember you mentioning, right? I remember you mentioning, well, there's no, they already got the H. Shortman 10, so there's no way
Right.
they what
Yeah.
was. And I, I really did not want to believe you, right? Because I was watching that show. I was like, oh my God. And things like that. But, I'm glad things changed, right?
I'm glad for you too. You made history. It's the first time that ever happened.
First time.
Historically, we looked at that. Yeah.
And listen, we've been actually blessed and working with a team of people that we have, and we have some amazing blends coming out, and we have worked extremely hard to bring the consumers different point of view. And you know that I like to blend. You remember the
Yep.
Oliveros XL, the Oliveros
Yep.
LTD, and we always like the swag puro dominicano. So I love to try different things, and sometimes, listen, when you try different things, sometimes you fail, sometimes it works out. But yeah, remember that show. That was an especially one that I really wish is wrong, and that was
Uh,
only one spot left. And we know we had a fantastic blend, but listen, let's face it, there are some amazing blends on the market.
it was a lot you were up against too. Like that could have got that spot. So it was history. Like I said, we never to have you had two cigars in the top 10, not just the number one. You had two in the top 10. You and AJ.
Yeah, it's
That's history you guys made.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely someone that has been doing
Yeah.
incredible things. We have been doing
Yep.
fantastic things together. But before we end, do you ever get tired? Do you? I like to say I am one of those persons that love to work, right? And I take pride on being one of the hardest working of people in the industry. I know many other people. This is one of the industry that I see people work very, very hard. You see them in Nicaragua and Honduras and Dominica. You see them in the shows. You see them traveling. We see each other and all these things. Uh, but let me just say that you are extremely hardworking. Do you ever get tired? How are you able to? How's the family you able to deal with it? Because I know my family have the problems.
Yeah, it's tired. There's points I do get tired, and I've had to actually cut it back a little in the last year. Um, so yeah, I do get tired. I made some big mistakes in terms of not realizing the importance of sleep. Because sleep is how your body recharges. So I've had to make some changes for that. I'm in a position where my children are all older, right? I wouldn't have been able to do this. Like when I was starting even 10 years ago, I wasn't doing it every day. So yeah, it's a little difficult. Now, the one thing that I mentioned is my wife is involved in the business. She runs the whole business aspect of Cigar Coop. She's also one of the proofreaders.
Oh wow,
So she's involved. Like she knows what goes into this thing as well.
wow.
And she does that out of the goodness of her heart, basically. So I give her, I got to give her a lot of credit. Like I said, if I had to run the business end of this, it would be difficult.
Right, right. No, no, it's
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
is difficult. So we're about to finish, but I want to ask you one last question. What is next? What is next in the Cigar Coop?
I think we're gonna stay the course this year in terms of what Coop is doing. I'm not adding another podcast this year. We There's gonna be a point where I think this will move to a full-time gig for me.
Right,
But it's probably a couple years off right now
right,
at a minimum. So it's not going to be. I'm thinking 2023 maybe the year that maybe eventually I transition and do this full time. Um, but so at that point there'll be a much more. It will be much more even more focused at that point as well. We may add something. I shouldn't say we may add something sports related in the fall as a lifestyle extension to it.
right.
We're still firming that up, maybe during the football season, but we got to see how things go, of course. So
Well,
that may
I
be the
would
only
like
thing. So we may add a fourth podcast. I shouldn't say we aren't. Yeah, we
well,
may. Yeah,
maybe in a different format. Yes.
yeah.
Well,
This will be more like we added the music one this year. That's once a month, though.
right.
The sports one we're talking about maybe doing something running it during the football season right now.
Yeah, I enjoy the music one. The sport, I really not in a sport guide. With my physique, those that know me, it's not. I
Yeah,
mean,
sports
eating,
is tough to
drinking.
do. Sports is very hard to do.
I bet it's
Yeah.
very difficult. But I would like to say thank you for joining us. And by the way, I would like to remind our viewers as we get to the end of this that to follow us on Instagram Live in our different channels at Montecristo underscore USA, H Shortman underscore USA, Romeo y Julieta underscore USA, and Agent Room. Also, the Cigar Live here on Facebook, but on as well, you can find these videos in the YouTube and the Cigar Live channel that had just opened up, and you're going to find not only these videos but an amazing amount of educational videos that we put in together. Our team at Altadis USA is working extremely hard to bring content and to really be entertaining on this difficult time. Something that I know, Will, you have been doing for a long time, and that's something that I appreciated. And I appreciate for you coming in Wednesday, April 22nd, over here at the Cigar Live in Facebook. We're going to be joined by Javier Estades, the
Oh wow.
CEO of Tabacalera USA, a guy that has really gave me this opportunity to do what I'm doing, and that has a tremendous experience on the industry, not only here in the United States, managing the biggest footprint of premium cigars in United States, but as well in Europe when we was managing the Tabacalera in Spain with the Cuban brand, and also the executive editor of Cigar Aficionado, Dave Sabona, is going to join us. So that will be Wednesday over here at the Cigar Live Facebook in starting Wednesday, April 22nd. 22 at 5:30 p.m. So thank you, Will. I really appreciate it. I wish your family continue to do well or get better. And I appreciate you taking the time to bring this cigar break to our viewers and try to bring some entertainment.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in and supports not just myself but all media. And definitely, folks, please support your brick and mortars as well. We need them. We need them badly. I like to joke. Sometimes they drive me crazy, but we need to help them right now. So it's very everyone. Not everyone from the small ones to the big ones to the catalogs. We need to help everyone right now.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Stay safe. Great. Take us home. Appreciate it. Cheers.